All right, let's move on to our next topic. So, it's been a lot of talk about the freshmen out there, just kind of nationally, and it's always an interesting conversation to me, right? Like people put out these lists for like who are the best freshmen, and it's like, well, literally have all these recruiting rankings to look at where they
Yeah,
just got done ranking 600, 700. How many ever
it's
freshmen
crazy.
there are. So I guess let's get into this first before we give our top five. What are your thoughts on the Indiana freshmen? There's three of them, right? There's
hmm
Newton, Cups, and Baco. What are your thoughts on these Indiana freshmen this year coming into the season?
Let's start with Jakai. I am heartbroken for Jakai. He's rehabbing a knee injury right now.
Right.
Doesn't look too promising that he'll be able to get out there fairly soon for us. And he would have been a great addition right out of the gate. This kid has explosive play. Um, and yeah, that it's just such a bummer because it happened just like the May before he was coming on campus. And
Yeah,
And
for
yeah,
sure.
and then as for Gabe Cups, again, him and Braden Smith were both Mr. Basketball that 2022 year. Gabe
Hmm.
Cups in Ohio. He will absolutely need him to play a role. Now, for the two, his shooting is highly touted. He's going to be able to shoot. Is he going to be able to make his shot in the Big Ten is the question.
Right.
But I mean, I'm hoping that CJ Gunn can answer that question as our shooter coming off the bench,
Hmm.
taking his next step. And then as for Mbako, I mean, um, I, I've looked into this kid's game, but I got to tell you, I don't need to look into this kid's game because if you have a Duke decommit
Right.
who you win in a bidding war with Kansas, I don't need anything else. Like I don't need anything else. If these guys were both interested in him, both committed to getting him, yeah, I want him. I
Right.
want that guy. And I mean his frame again, he might be a natural four in college. He's trying to get ready for the NBA playing the three.
Right.
Um
Well, and like you and I were talking before we were even on here, like the dude, it's more a question of his speed than his body type, right? I mean, the body's there.
oh
He
yeah.
is made for college basketball
Oh yeah.
already, especially coming into the Big Ten. Like that's what you need. You need somebody who has the body to withstand some of the punishment and some of the beating you're gonna
hmm
get. So to me, that's like the most positive thing about him is like he's not one of these freshmen who comes in who's kind of long and lanky and is gonna get pushed around a little bit. Like no, the dude is he's strong and he's built well, so he's gonna be able to withstand at least in the off season, but possibly also the entire Big Ten season as well. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, if this kid he came in to the roundtable interviews for Indiana's like institutional media day, and he
Right.
told everyone, I'm leaving next year. I'm
Wow.
out." Like he's like, he's gonna try to put enough on tape this season and bounce. So I mean, yeah, he would have to succeed at the three if that's the case because our front court is so deep, so deep. Talking about Peyton Sparks,
Right.
this kid coming from Ball State, second team All MAC, but also a freshman. So hoping he gets a sophomore bump. That kid is a unit. I believe that Mike Woodson might have just brought him in as the Edie buffer.
Yeah.
Um, but this kid also produces around the rim, so it's exciting to see. But Mbako playing that three almost seems like even if it isn't naturally there yet, he'll be forced into that position because you would imagine that Kalel Ware was also sold a bill of goods coming here that hey, if you have the motor, you're starting.
Right.
You are taking chunks of minutes and showing the NBA that you deserve to be a lottery pick that you are projected to be.
For sure. For sure. All right. Let's get into our top five freshmen here. I have my top five. You have your top five. I think what we'll do here is we'll just go back and forth. You give your five, I'll give my five. We'll go down. You want to start or you want me to start?
Uh, you know what? I'll start.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to start with potential freshman. This is the freshman, right?
Yes.
I think Price Sanford at number five. Uh,
Where's he at?
Iowa.
Iowa.
You might know his brother, Peyton.
Yep.
Uh, if he's half the nuisance that his brother is, I think he's about the same size, if not bigger. He's going to be a problem. Sanford is my leading now that Dickinson is gone. Now that now that New Jersey's point guard Paul Mulcahy is gone. Peyton Sanford is my odd-on favorite to be the Big Ten villain of the year.
Really?
So
well, it would be appropriate for him to come from Iowa and do that, right?
Yeah, and it is just like I have a feeling that he's a lot like his brother because Iowa just puts like brothers out there.
Yeah,
they do. That's just what they do. So my barometer and my reason for picking him 5 is because I would have picked his brother at 5.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think Iowa is always a sneaky good team.
Absolutely.
In my mind, at least, they kind of have taken on a little bit of this villain mentality in the Big Ten. You know, obviously they're more offense than defense, so it's not like the scary, gonna hurt you villain. But they are kind of like this: we could beat you at any point in time because we're just gonna hang 100 on you, type of thing.
That's they live by the 3, they die by the 3, but they. To their credit, they are Mike Woodson's lone head to collect still.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's the thing. So, all right, my number 5 is Gavin Griffiths from Rutgers. People who listen to this podcast know that I'm an Ohio State fan, but I have this strange affinity for Rutgers. It's been coming out all football season. It's bleeding into basketball now. The dude is just a really efficient scorer, and I feel like that is something that Rutgers was kind of missing last year that they really need to bring in. And Steve Pikiell, I think he's a good coach. I think he coaches defense really, really well. But I really like the idea of somebody coming in who is kind of offensively ready to bring and make a big impact for his team that kind of has this defensive mentality. Now, Rutgers did lose a number of good players. What's the guard's name? Paul Mulcahy.
I
don't know. I couldn't think of his last name. Yeah. Paul Mulcahy. They did lose him to the transfer portal. So
that dude was an all-time villain.
Yeah, exactly. The headband gang, right? But I really feel like this is kind of a player that Steve Pikiell just really needs. And I don't know if he'll be starting right away. So that could be a little bit there, but I really just feel like this is a player that Steve Pikiell needs and could really help out the team in a lot of different ways. So, all right, I'll go ahead and give my 4, and then we'll go back to you. We'll just kind of snake style it, okay? All right, my number 4, and some of you might not like this because I've seen him really, really high on some boards, but bear with me for a minute, okay? Xavier Booker from Michigan State. All right, I think he's a great talent. Okay, I think he is going to make a big impact this season. But I am a bit concerned with how late he did rise in the recruiting rankings. One of these guys that he wasn't always up there toward the top, but he kind of, just at the end of it really rose up there. He's a tremendous athlete. I mean, I watched some of his tapes and he just glides on the floor. He's a really, really good athlete to do that, but he's going to take a bit more time than I think some other guys would. And if there's any guy who can really take him and form him, it's Tom Izzo. So I think by the season's end, he's going to be a starter and he's going to be playing really, really well. I don't know if he's going to start at the beginning, but like I said, I think he's going to be really good. I'm just not quite as high on him as some other people are. So, all right, who's your number 4, Burke?
My number 4 is going to be Scotty Middleton for the Buckeyes. Sounds like the kid can shoot the hell out of the ball. And at 6'7", that definitely helps you create your own shot here in the Big Ten.
Yes. For sure. All right, who's your number 3 then?
Oh, yeah, my number 3. Now, my number 3 would be Jeremy Fears. But I don't think he stands to play much as just Michigan State's backcourt is ridiculous.
That was my same reason for leaving him off.
Yeah, he would be number 3 for me.
Yeah.
So here is where I'm going to take Xavier Booker. Now, okay. Xavier Booker, he's one of those brats. Yeah, I said it, Michigan State. He's one of those brats who played ball here, who is from Indiana.
Right.
Playing for Michigan State. What's wrong with him? I don't get it. But yeah, like you said, this kid is incredible. He is. Yeah. He's an incredible talent, and the only thing is the size. I mean, I saw Malik Renew last season have incredible footwork in the paint, incredible touch with the ball. But when Big Ten play hits,
Yeah.
I mean, Big Ten play freaking hits. Like, it's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, and that's going to be an adjustment for him. So, which Michigan State they've had good bigs. Like Joey Hauser last year, he was a good kind of big man for him to do what they needed to do. But you're right, he didn't exactly hold up. I shouldn't say hold up. I feel like I'm insulting the guy. I'm not trying to insult.
No.
He's not a Khalil Ware. He's not a Zach Edey. He's not some of these big body guys that can really take the punishment. So, all right, my number 3 is this Deshaun Harris Smith from Maryland. Just a beautiful offensive game. So smooth. I really like that he is one of those guys who he can get the defensive rebound and then just take it all the way down to the other side of the court. I don't know if I've seen a Maryland player be able to do something like that lately. Of course, Maryland is one of those teams I probably know less about than some other teams, but I just really, really like his game. I feel like he is going to fit in really well with Jameer Young. I feel like that's a good offensive piece for him to have. I feel like that was kind of Jameer Young's problem last year, is he didn't really have another offensive piece to really kind of take away some of the defense toward him. And I think Deshaun Harris Smith is going to be one of those guys. So, all right, let me do my number 2, and then we'll go back to you, Burke. My number 2 is actually Scotty Middleton from Ohio State. And the reason why I have him a bit higher, I don't know if he's the best talent, but the reason why I have him a bit higher is because if you followed Ohio State, Chris Holtmann has been trying to get these like 3-and-D white boys who are guards and short and like,
Aaron Craft.
It just doesn't really work out for him. Justin Arms was a couple years ago. Sean McNeil was last year, and Sean McNeil was fabulous player. Okay, I'm not trying to take away anything from him, but he just didn't have that length to be able to play defense the way he needed to. And you pointed it out perfectly, is that Scotty Middleton has that length where he's going to be able to get his shot off even with a defender in his face, and then he's going to be able to come back down on the other end and play defense. So I think it's going to be huge for Ohio State's defense. Ohio State, they brought in an assistant coach from the Celtics to help shore up their defense. And so I think it's going to be a really, really good addition to the team, and he's going to impact them really well. Again, I don't think he's the best talent out there, but I think he's going to make a really, really good impact. So
I think he's going to provide something that they desperately could have used this year in being able to go to somebody. I mean, just their inconsistencies screamed in, like, we need one other guy.
Yes. Well, and that was the thing too, is some of the older guys, they weren't able to do what was required. Like normally in those times you give it to the veteran, and the veteran has that calm presence to be able to do those things. I love Justin Sewing. He just wasn't that last year. Yeah. Zed Key was, but of course Zed Key got hurt, and then even when he came back from injury, he wasn't quite the same player. So, all right, your number 2, Burke.
My number 2, Deshaun Harris Smith.
There you go.
I mean, freshman with hyphenated names, ball. And I mean, it seems like by all measure out there, I know they did their tour, he seems to immediately have gotten in there and is making a difference, knows his role as second. I mean, he's going to be the second go-to guy, I imagine.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, again, Jameer Young is going to demand enough attention that there are going to be plenty of opportunities to play off that.
Yeah, I've been hearing kind of the same stuff, as like the dude came in and he was like the immediate 2-man, maybe not the second best player on the team, but
it's Jameer's team. Yeah.
Right. On offense at the very least. So
yeah.
All right. I can only guess who your first one is.
I mean, of course, dude. Yeah, of course. It's the Duke Blue Devil decommit who we beat out Kansas for. That's it. It's Mbako. This kid, his size, he needs to work on the shot. I'll admit that, folks. I'll be objective here. He needs to find the shot. But even then, if the shot isn't falling, it seems like he can just bully his way to the rim. And just, I hope to God this guy is just a walking bucket.
Right. Well, he's going to need to be if he wants to leave right after this year.
Oh, so, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Mine was Mackenzie Mbako as well. I just put on there that kind of the same thing you were saying, that I hope the shooting translates for him and he's able to do that. But even if it doesn't, like this guy, he's not Scotty Middleton where he's only kind of the three guy. I don't say Scotty Middleton's only three, but he's more than just the three guy that Scotty Middleton is, to where if it's not translating behind the arc, he's going to be able to get down low and bully his way in there and get him the points that he needs to get. And even if that doesn't happen, he's still going to demand a lot of attention from the rest of the team or the rest of the defense as well. It's going to provide time and space for Xavier Johnson. It's going to provide what the other players on his team need as well. And also, like, I take this into account too. Woody knows what he's doing with 3 and 4 men, right? I mean,
Yeah,
he did it at the NBA level. He's doing it here at the college level. And so when I look at this league now, which, by the way, the Big Ten with this freshman class coming in is no longer a big man's league. Like, this is a forward kind of 3-4 league now with all these guys. I mean, all these guys we mentioned, minus Xavier Booker, I think is the only one. These are all 3-4 men. And this is the kind of league that it's turned into, which I think is better for the Big Ten personally.
Which that's where the entire game's going.
Yes.
And like that, and hey, that's credit to us trying to get a run in March going,
Yeah.
it's like across the board.
It's like the coaches had a meeting and they were like, guys, can we stop recruiting 7-footers only?
Yeah.
Let's get some other guys in here who maybe, will have us not beat each other up so we can actually do something in the tournament.
Exactly. Here's hoping that Big Ten officiating can help out that a little this year. Yeah. I mean, they are doing us no favors there.
Right.